Hello everyone. Today I have an amazing story for you. It's not just for your listening practice, but also to inspire you. The story is called Nothing is Impossible, and it will remind you that no dream is too big when you believe in yourself. Life may test your patience, your courage, and your determination, but if you refuse to give up, nothing is impossible. There was a young man named Ethan Carter who was 21 years old and lived in a peaceful riverside village called Willow Creek. The village was known for its beautiful scenery, colorful flowers, and friendly people. Every morning, birds sang from the tall trees, fishermen sailed across the calm river, and farmers worked hard in their fields. Although Willow Creek was beautiful, opportunities were very limited. Most families earned just enough money to survive, and Ethan's family was no exception. Ethan had a dream that seemed impossible to everyone around him. He wanted to build one of the most successful bakeries in the region, and one day own several cafes where families could gather, enjoy fresh food, and create happy memories together. Whenever he shared his dream, people smiled politely and said, "That's a wonderful dream." But behind their smiles, many secretly believed it would never happen. Ethan's father, Daniel Carter, worked long hours repairing bicycles and old farming equipment in a tiny workshop near the river. His hands were always covered in grease, yet he never complained. His mother, Emma Carter, earned money by sewing clothes for neighbors. She spent countless evenings sitting beside an old lamp, carefully stitching dresses, shirts, and blankets while humming soft songs. Ethan also had a younger sister named Lily, who was only 11 years old. She admired her older brother more than anyone else in the world. Whenever Ethan returned home, Lily would run to him with a bright smile and ask, "Brother, when you become successful, will you still eat dinner with us every night?" Ethan laughed gently, patted her head, and replied, "Of course. Success means nothing if I can't share it with my family." One chilly autumn evening, Ethan walked toward the river after helping his father close the workshop. He sat quietly on an old wooden dock and watched the golden sunset reflect across the water. The peaceful view made him think deeply. Looking at the sky, he whispered, "I know my family deserves a better life. I want to help them, but every path seems blocked. How can someone with almost nothing build something great?" Just then, he heard slow footsteps behind him. It was his father. Daniel sat beside him without saying a word for several minutes. Finally, he smiled and said, "Ethan, do you know why bridges are built one piece at a time?" Ethan looked confused. "No, because no one can build the whole bridge in one day. Every strong bridge begins with one small section. Dreams are exactly the same." Ethan listened carefully. His father continued, "Many people think their dreams are impossible because they only see the finish line. They forget that every success begins with one simple step. Remember this, son, nothing is impossible for a person who refuses to stop moving forward." Those words stayed in Ethan's heart. The next morning, he walked through the village looking carefully at everything around him. He noticed something interesting. Every weekend, dozens of villagers traveled nearly 15 kilometers to the nearest town just to buy fresh bread, cakes, and pastries. Children often returned disappointed because the best items had already sold out before they arrived. An idea suddenly filled Ethan's mind. What if I bring fresh baked goods here instead? The more he thought about it, the more excited he became. However, there was one serious problem. He had almost no money. Even buying a small basket of bread was beyond what he could afford. Instead of giving up, Ethan decided to take a chance. He woke up before sunrise the following morning and walked for nearly 3 hours to the neighboring town. There he found an old bakery called Harrison's Oven, famous for its delicious bread. The owner, Mr. Harrison, had been baking for over 40 years. People respected him because his bread was excellent, but they also knew he trusted very few people. Taking a deep breath, Ethan entered the bakery. The warm smell of fresh bread filled the air. Mr. Harrison looked up from the oven. "What can I do for you?" Ethan smiled respectfully. "Sir, my name is Ethan Carter. I come from Willow Creek." The old baker nodded. "I've heard of that village." Ethan continued, "The people there love fresh bread, but traveling here takes too much time. I'd like to sell your bread in my village." Mr. Harrison folded his arms. "Then buy some." Ethan hesitated before answering honestly. "I wish I could, but I don't have enough money." The old baker raised an eyebrow. "Then how do you expect to sell it?" Ethan spoke confidently. "Give me 1 week's worth of bread on trust. I'll sell everything, return your money, and keep only a small profit. If I fail, I'll accept full responsibility." Silence filled the bakery. Mr. Harrison stared into Ethan's eyes. Most people avoided eye contact when asking for favors. Ethan didn't. After several long moments, the old baker finally spoke. "Young man, many people have made promises to me. Most never returned." "I understand." "So why should I believe you?" Ethan answered without hesitation. "Because I may not have money today, but I have honesty, determination, and the courage to work harder than anyone else." The old baker remained silent. Then, unexpectedly, a small smile appeared on his face. "You remind me of someone." "Who?" "My younger self." He walked toward a shelf and packed several baskets with fresh bread. "I'm giving you one chance." Ethan's eyes widened. "Thank you, sir." Mr. Harrison pointed a finger toward him. "But listen carefully." "I'm listening." "If you don't return in 7 days with my payment, don't ever come back." "You have my word." Carrying 2 heavy baskets across his shoulders, Ethan began the long walk home. The journey was exhausting. Several times he stopped to rest because the baskets felt heavier with every step. His shoulders ached, his feet hurt, yet every time he thought about quitting, he remembered his father's words, "Nothing is impossible." By the time he reached Willow Creek, the afternoon sun was shining brightly. He placed a wooden table near the village square. With his brightest smile, he greeted everyone who walked by. Fresh bread, warm bread straight from Harrison's oven. At first, people simply looked. Some were curious. Others doubted the bread would still be fresh after such a long journey. Instead of arguing, Ethan offered tiny free samples. One elderly man accepted a piece. He chewed slowly. Then his eyes widened. "This is wonderful." Within minutes, several more people gathered around the table. Parents bought bread for dinner. Children begged for sweet rolls. Farmers picked up fresh loaves before heading home. By sunset, every single loaf had been sold. Ethan carefully counted the money. After paying Mr. Harrison's share, he still had a small profit left. It wasn't much. But to Ethan, it felt like the beginning of something extraordinary. That evening, he placed the coins on the kitchen table. His mother looked surprised. "Where did this come from?" Ethan smiled. "I earned it." Daniel looked proudly at his son. "I told you." Ethan nodded. "Yes." His father smiled warmly. "Sometimes the first step is the hardest, but once you take it, every next step becomes a little easier." Lily clapped happily. "Brother, does this mean your dream is coming true?" Ethan looked at his family and smiled with quiet confidence. It has already begun. Ethan returned to Harrison's oven early the next morning. The old baker was arranging fresh loaves on the shelves when he noticed Ethan walking through the door. "I wasn't expecting you until the end of the week," Mr. Harrison said. Ethan placed the money on the counter. "I sold every loaf yesterday. This is your payment." The old baker carefully counted the money before looking up with a smile. "You kept your promise." "I said I would." Mr. Harrison nodded. "Very well. Come back every morning." From that day forward, Ethan followed the same routine without missing a single day. Every morning at 4 o'clock, while the rest of Willow Creek was still asleep, he began the long walk to the neighboring town. He collected baskets of freshly baked bread from Harrison's oven, carried them back across dusty roads and wooden bridges, and reached the village before most people had finished breakfast. No matter how tired he felt, Ethan greeted every customer with kindness. "Good morning. Fresh bread for your family." People appreciated not only the quality of the bread, but also Ethan's cheerful attitude. Within a few weeks, almost everyone in Willow Creek knew him by name. Business slowly improved. Instead of buying one basket each day, Ethan soon carried 2, then 3. After nearly 3 months of hard work, he had saved enough money to buy a sturdy handcart. The cart made transporting bread much easier, allowing him to serve even nearby villages. One afternoon, a regular customer named Mrs. Green stopped by. "Ethan," she said, "have you ever thought about baking your own bread?" He smiled awkwardly. "I've never baked anything." She laughed softly. "Neither had my husband before he became a cook. Everyone starts somewhere." Her words stayed in Ethan's mind all day. That night he couldn't sleep. He kept imagining his own bakery. He pictured warm ovens, smiling customers, and shelves filled with fresh bread. Finally, he whispered to himself, "If I can learn, maybe this dream isn't as far away as I thought." The next morning, after paying Mr. Harrison, Ethan gathered his courage. "Sir, may I ask you something?" "You already did." Ethan smiled. "I mean, may I ask one more thing?" Mr. Harrison chuckled. "Go ahead. Will you teach me how to bake?" The old baker stopped what he was doing. For several seconds he said nothing. Then he replied, "If I teach you, you'll become my competitor someday." "I understand. So why should I help you?" Ethan answered honestly. "Because you were the first person who believed in me. If I ever succeed, I'll never forget your kindness. I hope to make you proud, not replace you." Mr. Harrison looked at him carefully. Finally, he sighed. "You've got courage. Does that mean yes?" "It means if you're willing to work harder than you've ever worked before, I'll teach you." Ethan's face lit up with excitement. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet," the old baker replied with a smile. "You'll regret saying yes after your first week." The lessons began the following morning. Instead of arriving at 6, Ethan now reached the bakery at 3 o'clock. Before sunrise, Mr. Harrison taught him how to measure flour accurately, prepare yeast, mix ingredients, knead dough, and understand the importance of patience. "Bread has its own rhythm," Mr. Harrison explained. "You can't rush it." At first, Ethan struggled badly. His dough stuck to the table. Sometimes it became too dry. Other times it became too soft. Several loaves burned because he left them in the oven too long. Others collapsed before they finished baking. One afternoon, after ruining another batch, Ethan stared at the blackened bread with disappointment. "I don't think I'm made for this." Mr. Harrison folded his arms. "Who told you success comes on the first try?" "No one." "Then stop expecting perfection." Ethan remained silent. The old baker picked up one of the burnt loaves. "Do you know how many mistakes I made when I was your age?" Ethan shook his head. "Hundreds." "Really?" "Hundreds," Mr. Harrison smiled. The difference between successful people and everyone else isn't talent. It's that successful people keep practicing after everyone else has quit. Those words gave Ethan fresh determination. He practiced every single day. His hands became stronger. His movements became smoother. Slowly, his bread improved. One morning, after nearly 3 weeks of training, Mr. Harrison sliced open a loaf Ethan had baked. The texture was soft. The crust was perfectly golden. The aroma filled the bakery. The old baker tasted a piece. Then he smiled proudly. "You've earned this." He handed Ethan a wooden rolling pin. "My first baking tool." Ethan accepted it carefully. "I'll treasure it forever." "I know you will." Using his savings, Ethan rented a tiny kitchen with a small stone oven at the edge of Willow Creek. It wasn't fancy. The walls were old. The roof leaked whenever it rained. But to Ethan, it looked like the beginning of his future. Every evening after selling bread, he stayed late practicing new recipes. Emma often brought him warm tea. Lily happily wrapped fresh loaves in paper. Daniel repaired broken shelves and built wooden tables using leftover lumber. The whole family worked together. Months passed. Ethan finally stopped buying bread from Mr. Harrison. Instead, he baked everything himself. To his surprise, customers loved his homemade recipes even more. Soon he added cinnamon rolls, butter biscuits, fruit pies, and soft dinner rolls. Families began placing orders days in advance. Children rushed to his little shop after school. Everything seemed perfect, but success attracted attention. A wealthy businessman named Ryan Brooks arrived in Willow Creek and built a large modern bakery near the village center. His store had shiny glass windows, bright lights, colorful signs, and expensive equipment. On opening day, dozens of curious customers lined up outside. Within 2 weeks, Ethan noticed something worrying. His shop became quieter. Some afternoons he sold only half of what he usually did. Watching empty shelves that should have been full of customers broke his heart. For the first time in months, fear returned. One evening, Lily quietly asked, "Brother, are we going to lose everything?" Ethan forced a smile. "No, but hardly anyone came today." He looked at his sister gently. "Challenges don't mean the journey is over." The next morning, instead of complaining, Ethan visited several loyal customers. "I want your honest opinion," he said. "What can I do better?" Mrs. Green smiled. "Your bread is wonderful." "Then why are people leaving? The new bakery looks exciting." Another customer added, "The cakes are beautifully decorated." A father of 3 said, "My children enjoy the colorful displays." Ethan realized something important. His products were good, but his business could become better. Instead of feeling jealous, he decided to improve. He spent evenings studying baking books borrowed from the village library. He watched experienced bakers decorate cakes. He practiced frosting flowers until midnight. He painted his little shop, planted flowers outside the entrance, and created beautiful displays using handmade wooden shelves. Most importantly, he never lowered the quality of his bread. Little by little, customers began returning. Some even told their friends, "Ethan's bakery feels like home." Business slowly recovered. Just as hope returned, a challenge far greater than competition was waiting for him. One quiet evening, after serving his last customer, Ethan finished cleaning the bakery and prepared to close for the night. Outside, dark clouds gathered over Willow Creek, and a strong wind swept through the streets. The first drops of rain soon turned into a powerful storm. As Ethan locked the front door, he caught the faint smell of smoke. He froze. "That's strange," he whispered. Turning around, he noticed thin gray smoke rising from the back of the bakery. His heart began to race. He rushed inside and ran toward the kitchen. A damaged electrical wire near one of the ovens had caught fire. Without wasting a second, Ethan grabbed a fire extinguisher and fought the flames. The fire was eventually brought under control before it could spread through the entire building, but the damage was heartbreaking. The main oven was ruined. Several shelves had collapsed. Flour, ingredients, and baking tools were destroyed. Smoke covered the walls, and broken glass was scattered across the floor. Exhausted, Ethan sat quietly on the ground. For the first time in years, tears filled his eyes. He had spent countless mornings waking before sunrise and countless nights working until midnight to build this bakery. Now it looked like everything had disappeared in a single evening. The next morning, word spread quickly across Willow Creek. Neighbors gathered outside the damaged bakery. Some looked shocked. Others whispered to one another, "I don't know how he'll recover from this. It will cost a fortune. Maybe he'll have to close forever." Ethan heard every word. For a few moments, fear tried to take control of his mind. Then he remembered the words his father had spoken years ago beside the river. Nothing is impossible for a person who refuses to stop moving forward. He slowly stood up. Looking at the damaged bakery, he took a deep breath. "This isn't the end," he said to himself. "It's simply another obstacle." After checking his savings, Ethan realized he didn't have nearly enough money to replace the damaged equipment. Instead of giving up, he decided to seek advice from the person who had changed his life from the beginning. Mr. Harrison, the retired baker, welcomed Ethan warmly. "I heard what happened." Ethan nodded sadly. "I've worked so hard, and now I feel like I'm starting from zero again." Mr. Harrison smiled gently. "Do you remember your first day here? I had nothing." "Exactly. And yet you built something wonderful." Ethan looked at him quietly. The old baker continued, "You didn't become successful because life was easy. You became successful because you never allowed difficulty to defeat you." He placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "Listen carefully, my boy. Nothing is impossible. Problems may slow you down, but they never have the power to stop you unless you let them." Those words filled Ethan with renewed hope. He thanked Mr. Harrison and returned home. Using the few tools that had survived the fire, he began baking small batches of bread in his family's kitchen once again. The kitchen was crowded. The oven was small. The work was slower than before. Still, every loaf was baked with the same care and determination. The following morning, Ethan placed a handwritten sign outside the damaged bakery. It read, "Our ovens may be damaged, but our hope is stronger than ever. Fresh bread will continue every day in limited quantities. Thank you for believing in us." Customers stopped to read the message. Many were deeply touched. Mrs. Green smiled. "We're not going anywhere." Another customer said, "We've watched Ethan work harder than anyone. He deserves another chance." Within days, something wonderful began to happen. A carpenter repaired broken tables without charging anything. An electrician volunteered to replace damaged wiring. Farmers donated sacks of flour. A local painter offered to repaint the bakery. Children collected spare coins in small jars. Even Ryan Brooks, the owner of the competing bakery, walked through the front door carrying several brand new baking trays. Ethan looked surprised. "I thought we were competitors." Ryan smiled. "We are, but we're also neighbors. A village is stronger when businesses help each other instead of wishing each other to fail. Ethan shook his hand. Thank you. For weeks, the people of Willow Creek worked side by side. They laughed together. They painted walls together. They repaired shelves together. Day after day, the damaged bakery slowly came back to life. Ethan worked harder than ever. He didn't simply rebuild. He improved everything. The bakery received a larger oven. New wooden shelves displayed fresh bread beautifully. Comfortable tables were added for families. Fresh flowers decorated every window. The warm smell of bread once again filled the streets each morning. Finally, the day of the grand reopening arrived. Colorful ribbons decorated the entrance. Children laughed excitedly. Families gathered outside before sunrise. The mayor of Willow Creek stepped forward to cut the ribbon. Looking at Ethan, he smiled proudly. Today we aren't only reopening a bakery. We're celebrating the courage of a young man who refused to let failure define his future. Everyone applauded. After the ribbon was cut, customers filled the bakery within minutes. Every table was occupied. Fresh bread disappeared from the shelves almost as quickly as Ethan could replace it. The bakery was more alive than ever before. Later that afternoon, the mayor invited Ethan to say a few words. Standing before the crowd, Ethan looked around at the people who had supported him through every challenge. His parents smiled proudly. Lily waved happily from the front row. Mr. Harrison stood quietly in the back with tears of pride in his eyes. Ryan Brooks applauded with everyone else. Ethan took a deep breath. When I was younger, he began, I believed successful people were simply lucky. But life taught me something much greater. It taught me that every dream begins with one small decision. The decision to try. He paused. There were days when I had no money. There were mornings when I walked for hours carrying heavy baskets. There were nights when every loaf I baked was a failure. There were moments when competitors seemed stronger than me. And there was even a fire that nearly destroyed everything I had built. He smiled. But every challenge taught me the same lesson. He looked toward the crowd. Nothing is impossible. If you believe in yourself, work with honesty, learn from every mistake, and refuse to give up, even the greatest obstacles become stepping stones. Success doesn't belong to the strongest. It belongs to those who keep moving forward when everyone else stops. The crowd responded with loud applause. Years passed. Sunrise Hearth Bakery became famous throughout the region. Visitors traveled from neighboring towns just to taste Ethan's fresh bread and pastries. Young entrepreneurs often came to ask for advice. Instead of keeping his knowledge to himself, Ethan welcomed them warmly. Just as Mr. Harrison had once helped him, Ethan began teaching others without expecting anything in return. He believed that encouraging another person's dream never made his own dream smaller. One afternoon, a nervous teenager walked into the bakery. "Mr. Carter," he said softly, "I have a dream, but everyone says it's impossible." Ethan smiled, remembering his own journey. He handed the young man a warm loaf of bread and said, "People called my dream impossible too. So what should I do?" Ethan looked him in the eyes. "Take the first step. The second step will come tomorrow. And never stop believing in what you can become." The young man smiled with new confidence. As the sun slowly set over Willow Creek, Ethan stood outside his bakery, watching families leave with warm bread, happy smiles, and hopeful hearts. He realized that he hadn't only built a successful business, he had built a place where people believed in themselves again. His story spread far beyond the village, inspiring countless people to chase dreams they once believed were out of reach, and his message never changed. No matter where he spoke, no matter who asked for advice. He always ended with the same simple words: nothing is impossible. Every great achievement begins with one brave decision, one determined heart, and one person who refuses to give up. Believe in yourself, keep learning, work hard, and never let fear decide your future. The impossible becomes possible the moment you choose to keep moving forward. And so Ethan didn't just build a bakery. He built hope. He built courage. He built a future that once seemed impossible. And so can you. Whatever your dream may be, no matter how difficult the journey looks today, keep believing, keep working, and keep moving forward. Remember, nothing is impossible.